Good evening, everybody. It is 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on a Saturday evening, and so that means that it's the Love Again podcast. This is a very special episode, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to be here with you. Um, Before I introduce my guest, okay, there we go. Uh, it's the HIS. It's the Biggie episode. Biggie turned 50 today, and so shout out to the GOAT, the one and only Notorious B.I.G. It's also the HIS episode, and so we're gonna talk some history. Some of you all don't know what that is, but we'll we'll get you put you up on game today about what HIS is,
Yes,
what
sir.
it means. But I got my brother here, one of the four founders. Um, I've been thinking about how long we've known each other, and it's gonna be about 35 years now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Teenagers. Yeah, we were teenagers together, and we've known each other, and we've been in each other's lives. It's my brother from another mother, uh, and I'm glad that when I had this idea of the podcast, I was like, "Yep, got to have my brother on to come and chop it up with us." And so he's here. His name is Marlon Johnson. We call him Gent. We call him,
Yeah.
it's my brother. He's here. And so thanks for being here, Gent. What's happening?
Nothing's wrong, man. Nothing's wrong at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong. Everything's good because nothing's wrong. Okay? Let's get that off out the way,
Feel
right?
good.
Oh, from night to night, you find me. Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here, my
Yeah.
brother. Fresh Prince in the building.
Yeah. What's going on, baby? I'm glad you're here with us. I'm glad you're here with me. I'm glad we're going to have this conversation. Welcome to everybody that's tuning in, Nicole. Good evening to you, and everybody that's on. I'm glad you're here. And so we got a lot of history to talk about, a lot of stuff to work through. I always want to start off like with an origin story. Like if you had to tell your origin story, um, where would you start and how would you start it?
In relation to the crew or just me?
No, and your origin
Me.
story.
Oh,
You,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. That's easy. Born and raised south side of Chicago. To Mrs. Amelda, R.I.P., and Marvin Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
only child. So that
Mm-hmm.
can be interesting from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Went to St. John de La Salle, Brother Rice, U of I, Champaign Urbana, and was a member of the original member of the illustrious Soul Children of Chicago, where I met all my brothers. But we're gonna get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Currently an IT professional. I'm not gonna give out where I work at. I don't want nobody showing up, but
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
life is good, man. Mid 40s, single to
Yeah,
mingle. We're getting
yeah,
all that.
yeah. We,
That's my origin.
yeah. Um, what neighborhood on the south side did you grow up in?
Chatham, 91st and Greenwood.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
it's
sir.
it's
Where the infamous
amazing.
basement still lives.
God bless that basement. God, yeah, spent a many a night in the basement,
Yes,
and
sir.
we'll talk. Got to talk through that too. We'll talk about that too. You lived in Chatham. You grew up in Chatham. I grew up in Chatham. We both grew
Yeah.
up in the same neighborhood. I remember it as I call it like a little suburb in the middle of the city. It was like its own little
Mhm.
kind of space that was disconnected from a lot of other spaces. What do you remember about Chatham, and what makes that special to you?
I remember it as being much the same. Like, we by no means were rich, but there were definitely a lot of lower middle class African American families there. So we had the luxuries. We had playgrounds where the kids actually played in the playground, played basketball. it was a community. My dad
Yeah.
and I were talking about this, that you're almost scared to speak to your newer neighbors or to chastise their kids. They might come back and throw a brick in your window or shoot your
Mhm.
house up. But my community wasn't like that. If my neighbor had to get on me, wherever you acted up is where they acted up. And then you had to deal with your own parents when they got home from work. So the respect factor was there. A lot of fun things in our neighborhood. We had the skating rink on 95th, Fun Town on the other end of 95th. Of course, the mecca of chicken places, Harold's. The best ones to me are in that
Mhm.
neighborhood.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Schools were plentiful. You had a mix of public schools, whether it be CVS, Harlan. I personally went to Rice, so I got to see the joys of Mother Macaulay and Our Lady of Hungary and all that good stuff. So
The joys.
life was good. Nothing's wrong. Nothing was wrong. The joys.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned Brother Rice, but that wasn't the first Catholic. You were on a Catholic track with your
Yes, sir.
education. You started at Saint John de La Salle.
I did.
Here's what I never knew. Were your mom and dad Catholic?
No, my dad teases me about that to this day. So here's how it worked according to him.
Okay.
They got the inside spin that, hey, if you go up to the school and you go to a mass or two, you can then get the inside scoop on registering your child. They had to go to a class on, I guess, how to be Catholic, which is
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
And they were not Catholic. I, I guess by denomination was Catholic for 8 years when I went there. I know
Mhm.
all I was the altar boy, all that good stuff that you have to do. But no, but St. John de La Salle was definitely my grammar school, kindergarten to 8th grade. Met some lifelong friends there,
Mhm.
and that place is significant for another reason that I'm sure we'll get into.
Right. So apparently it was very transformational for you for a couple of reasons. Your education track, you left there, and apparently you like being Catholic, or at least being Catholic at school, because then you went to Brother Rice, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
that was merely because about 6 or 7 of my guys from St. John were
mhm.
going, and it's like, okay, well, if you gonna go, I'm gonna go, and we kind of
Now, was
followed.
Brother Rice was of course, it was a private school. It was
Hmm.
private Catholic school.
Hmm.
Um, What was that for you? Because I think, like in elementary school, you go where your parents tell you to go. Maybe perhaps you have a little say in what high school you would want to go to, and you decided. Did you choose Brother Rice, or did they choose it for you?
I got in a program called Inroads when I was in 7th grade. It was for pre-high schoolers, and my mom and dad were always looking at the next phase, meaning what high school is going to set my son up to then go to a good college and hopefully
Mhm,
eventually have a great job.
mhm,
Some brothers that went to St. John that were older than me, we were close to their parents through another organization. And so we got the inside scoop that Brother Rice was good for placement into colleges, and also just having that on your resume because of the interdenominational, or not interdenominational, the multiracial aspect of it
mhm,
could help you.
mhm.
So with that, and then you layer on top of that a couple of my good friends and other guys that I've known that were older than me went there. So I knew I wouldn't get bullied because we had crew representation there.
Mhm.
It was a culture shock, though. It was my first taste of racism. It was my first taste of just having to get along with, and when I say racism, not just with Caucasians. Yeah, Indian Americans, Asian Americans, they can be racist too. We don't talk about that enough.
Mhm.
And at that age, you don't know enough to be racist, right? You're following something that you've heard at home, or you've seen on TV. You see a darker skin, and you're already conditioned that I don't like this guy. But fast forward 4 years, some of my best friends that aren't of an African American descent, I met at Brother Rice,
Mhm.
and we network to this day. Like whether it
Mhm.
be give me a stock tip, because they know if you sit at the
Right.
table and ask, they won't tell you. I was asking everything. So what's that?
Right.
How you buy that boat? Oh, really?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Um, what's been amazing to me, and I know we'll talk about this a little later too, is I've always observed with you is you don't really meet strangers. Like every room I've ever seen you walk in, you know most of the room, or most of the room knows you at least, right?
Yeah,
Um, and it seems like that wasn't the skill you developed when you were adult. You know, it seemed like by the time you got to Brother Rice, you said I had a crew, and we went together, and so we were comfort blanket for each other. Like, when did you start? You say networking. I mean, it is networking, but it's also building a friendship network, right? That you got
yeah.
people in different places. You had to start that very early on in your life because you are excellent at you, you are excellent at that. Was that natural from you being an only child, and you kind of just looked outside yourself like, oh, I have to make brothers and sisters in different places, or how did you know that that's what you were doing?
A little mixture of both. Being an only child, my house was the spot, if you want to call it that, even for a younger age, whether it was us breakdancing in the basement or watching movies on TV, or as we got older, singing with the brothers or dancing, doing our new edition dance routines. And then a part of it, I think, is if you're genuine with me, I'm genuine with you. If I don't rock with you, I don't rock with you. There's no gray. It's either black or white. But if I don't rock with you, I don't put myself in a position to even be phony. I just don't affiliate with you.
Mhm.
And I think the best thing to do is to be kind to people, because what I've learned is you never know when you're gonna need someone. Like I've needed things from people in my older years, and I was able to go to them because of a bond I set in third grade or a bond I set in high school.
Mhm.
So, and then once you get older, you just kind of do it for different reasons. You want to be nice and charming, and the ladies tend to love that. So I said with them, that's how you kind of have to roll. And with your
Mhm.
brothers, man, if my brother needs me, if I can give him something, the shirt off my back or something, to even a word, it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
anything monetary or tangible. Just
Mhm.
I believe in keeping that strong network, because life has peaks and valleys, and in those peaks
Absolutely.
you're good, but when you get low, I've had some low years in the last 6 or 7 years, and my brothers have been there for me. A relationship that we built years ago.
Yeah. Um, I always ask everyone who comes on the show this: where did you first learn about love, and who taught you about love?
Um, I watched it every day for the first 21 years of my life living at home.
Mhm.
My parents had my mom. Well, they still are together.
Mhm.
They would have reached 49 years this year.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was fortunate to come from a two-parent home, and seeing the good and the bad. It wasn't always rosy. I would just close my door when it wasn't rosy.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I knew what a man was supposed to do in terms of how he treated a woman, watching Marvin Johnson, watching my dad.
Mhm.
Um, then I liken it to, riding on training wheels and then finally getting out there on your own without the training wheels. When it was
Mhm.
time for me to start dating, it's trial and error. You make mistakes as youngsters, teenagers. Our vision for what love is varies, I think, depending on the age you are. So usually when you're
Mhm.
younger, you're just boom, 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 boom. You know, a lot of us try and make an effort to love someone in our early 20s to mid 30s, and some even get married.
Mhm.
Some of our guys got married very young and are still married. So
Mhm.
the perception of what love is was given to me by my parents, and then just dating and taking the good with the bad. I've learned over years what to truly love is, and it extends way past physical. And I know we'll
Mhm.
get into that a little later too.
So love for you was you learned through observing. It wasn't like Pop sat down with you and said, "Well, this is what love is, and this is how you love it." Your mom said, "This is what this is." You learned and gathered. You learned what love was through observation, is what you're saying.
Correct.
My
Yes, sir.
second question is, where did you find language about love? And I say this because I always say this, like Let's Chill was one of the most important records ever to me.
And tease
Um,
me tonight.
well, see, here's the thing. I said let's chill. And here's why I say let's chill. Because Tease Me had its place, right?
You did.
All the R. Kelly, all the
Placement is important.
it had its place. That those were records. But with Let's Chill, it wasn't that. Let's Chill was talking about us having a life, talking about us settling down, talking about us building something together. Like his language wasn't erotic, it wasn't
Hmm.
explicit. It was just, I love you, I want to be with you. And that
Yeah.
kind of helped me, as a teenager, like, oh, okay, well, love is different from touch me, tease me tonight. That's where it is. But love and its language is something different. So my question is, where did you find your language for love?
Wow. I would say there were certain relationships I had where the physical stuff was cool, but if you could not communicate, even at a young age, if you could not communicate, you probably weren't going to have a long-standing relationship, whether it be with a
Mm,
girlfriend or a fiance or ultimately a
mm,
wife. Um, I learned that you can't become complacent, and that's not just with provision of gifts and intangible things to um, the woman or whoever you're dating. You've got to have a language of just non-tangible things, just gifts, well, not gifts, but words, or being supportive of emotion, especially with ladies, because they can become emotion. You mentioned Let's Chill, but let me tell you something. I also learned the love language from Goodbye Love, which was another hit on that album, and
right,
that's the exit from
right,
all
right,
of that relationship building that you talked about in Let's
right,
Chill. I think
right.
you need both to say, well, what's the language that keeps me in the middle of those two?
Yeah,
I can get her with Let's Chill, but
right,
clearly I'm losing her with Goodbye Love,
right.
so let me get it one more time before you go. Before we even get to that part, how can we stay in the middle of those songs?
Right, right, right,
In the
right,
middle of
right.
the album, you
Yeah,
dig?
yeah. No, and we'll talk about music and it's important to our lives a little later. But we were listening to some of the same music that came out at the same time, and it was like, well, our crew had a very sophisticated music palette, right? So
Yes.
it wasn't just what was playing on the radio, but we found Luther Vandross. Luther gave me a lot of language about
Yeah.
love. Anita Baker. And listening to those records made us feel more adult, a little more mature, right?
Hmm.
Because again, Kale's guy, all that had its place, but Luther and Anita were singing about how we love one another, how we share, how we communicate. And so, like you said, love is not just in the duty of it in terms of buying stuff and providing. Love is in our language. Like if it is our words and what we share between each other that connects us. And sometimes it's like I think the perception is that men don't have a love language.
Hmm.
Um, but we do have a language, and I when I say language, I don't mean just gifts, although that's an expression of love. I'm talking about the way we talk to someone that we are with and in love with, whether it is our tenderness or in our sharing about how we feel. Like we do have a love language. Did you recognize early on in your teenage years that you were sometimes you were willing to communicate but didn't know how, or was it always easy for you to communicate how you were feeling with someone that you were dating?
Definitely not always easy.
Mm,
I almost welcomed a challenge as it related to either getting with a young lady or even trying to keep her, because to charm someone, that's the easy part, right? To finesse them and make them feel good. But keeping them, I think, is the challenging part, because the language could vary. You could
Mhm.
have a nurturing language where you're always making sure that she comes first. You could have a cocky language, and a lot of us have the cocky language where it's like, well, I got her. She a dime. I'm putting it down. She ain't going nowhere. You
Mhm.
know, she cannot talk to me for 2 days. She'll call on that third day. You gotta be
Mhm.
careful with that, because that cocky language can turn into begging language. Like,
Yeah.
please come back.
Right. Right.
So I found it very necessary to balance all of those. You
Mhm.
have to be nurturing, but then
Mhm.
a woman wants, she don't want no pushover. She wants you to know, like, this mine. I'm putting it down, and you ain't going nowhere. But you got to tread lightly with that, right? And then when things do go bad, you have to learn how to humble yourself and sometimes
Mhm.
say, I made a mistake. I think we have a big problem with that,
Mhm.
because it's everybody else's fault. It's never our fault.
Right.
I think you
Right.
have to check yourself, and then before it's too late, and then come back to them, and you have to also have a negotiation language. That
Mhm.
is, you may be wrong, I may be wrong. What can we, not me, not you, what can we do to better this, or strengthen this relationship? So I learned all those different languages. I think I named about four.
Yeah.
Just
No.
by
That was,
trial and error, real life dating.
absolutely. So before we move out of our teenage years, something I think significant happened to you in elementary, grade school, elementary, where you were at St. John.
Yes, sir.
You met someone who will be a presence in your life to this day. And by meeting him, opened you up to a whole new family, a new world. Um, you met a very young uh, Walter Whitman
Yes,
Jr. Um, tell me about your first time meeting him. What do you remember? Do you remember?
yeah, I
Okay.
remember everything. So
Okay.
before I do that, let me take a quick tangent.
Hmm.
One of my best friends is named Ramakar, one of the bros.
Hmm.
We were like the jokesters of the class. You think I'm a room worker? He works the room as well. People that know him know that. Then
Wow.
in a grade ahead of us, we had Chris Carr. So we were inseparable. The three of
Hmm.
us were inseparable.
Hmm.
So I'm saying that because I'm gonna bring it all together.
Sure. Sure.
So
Sure. Sure.
Walt Whitman shows up as the music teacher at St. John de La Salle. So we had
Hmm.
actually had a couple of music teachers. And when you're in second and third grade, they're just banging on the piano and you're just singing stuff. Unbeknownst to us, I would learn this later. Mrs. Cleo Arthur, sorry, was our principal, and in Whitman's contract, he had to start a school choir, but he didn't like children's choirs. Like, he came off of working with James Cleveland and
Hmm.
adults, and he was cold with it, but he was like,
Right.
So I first met him as my music teacher. And so we used to rehearse in the main sanctuary of, not rehearse, I'm sorry. We used to have music class sometimes in the classroom, but sometimes he would take us into the church if a big mass was coming up and the kids were all going to get together and sing a kumbaya song.
Hmm.
So me and Rama would be cracking jokes in the back of the class, laughing like we kind of did in Soul Children years.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we did it once, we did it twice. On about the third time, he's like, well, one of y'all got to come up here and sing, or I'm calling your parents, because y'all act up every day.
Hmm.
This is every day, and a couple of other cats. So
Hmm.
Ron was like, oh, knock that out. So I was the token Precious Lord singer. And any of my
Hmm.
classmates watching this know this. And I had a high pitched voice.
Hmm.
So I sung, and he said, you really have a nice voice. Do you want to be in the choir? And I'm 8 years old, 7 years old. I'm like, I got to ask my mama. So I went home, asked my mom. Now, my dad was a little adverse, and he'll tell you, because he had grown up. I ain't gonna say the church. Now, he had grown up in church, and you know what sometimes can come with that, with singing
Hmm.
in choir. And
Hmm.
you're like, I
Hmm.
don't know. So,
Hmm.
my mom was very active at school, so she was there, kind of in the
Hmm.
beginning as a parent volunteer. When I ultimately did go to Soul Children rehearsals, it was only about 20 of us.
Hmm.
Pastor Pat Winfield was one, Maurice Young, and I learned very quickly that this cat just wasn't one that banged on the piano. He teaching
Mhm,
us sheet music
mhm,
and
mhm,
and intricate hymns and arrangements. And I'm like, but we only 8, 9, and 10 years old, you
mhm,
know. And he, we were under his tutelage for 2 years before he expanded the choir. So now he's taking the core St. John group into the citywide, and we
mhm,
changed our name from the Gospel Soul Children of St. John to the Soul Children of Chicago. And
mhm,
now that's bringing in people from the west side, the suburbs, the north side, you name it. And now we go from being 20 to about 50. And now he's got a band. And so I'm watching him not only play, but he's hopping back and forth. And I'm looking like, man, this dude is he kind of raw with it. And then,
mhm,
there's the
mhm,
crazy side that he'll deny to this day, throwing
mhm.
stuff and all that. We're gonna tell that in the biopic.
Right,
But
right, right.
yeah, it did open me up to lifelong friendships, a part of which you're a part.
Mhm.
Um, and but I told that story about Chris Rama and I because I wouldn't get in it unless they got in it. So Chris was the only one that joined me. Rama was like, man, whatever. Then later down the line, he saw that we was getting out of school a lot for field trips, and that's why Rama joined. So, that's a true story. That's the only reason why Rama joined the club and the girls. Wait a minute, y'all get out of school and because all the girls think I was in the soldiers, so they was coming like, man, you ain't leaving me behind. Shit, I'm in.
Shout out to Rama. Shout out to Lover.
The only reason he got in the soldiers was because we was getting out of school.
I get it.
I
I
mean,
get
I'm
it.
with it.
I get it. So
But
so
definitely,
here's
right.
a okay. So you met Walter Whitman before your mom met. What is that true?
That's
Or
correct. Yes.
okay, okay. Because of my question, one of my questions was, well, how did they meet? But it was through you. Um,
Correct.
um. Okay. So it's a school children's choir,
Hmm.
and then you saw he had a vision to expand it and open it up.
Yes, sir.
Um, yeah, there's a documentary out of this. So,
It
uh,
is.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully he'll let me write it.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go back to he started opening it up, and then you start meeting other kids, and
Hmm.
one of the most significant ones to the history of the choir would be a Kim Mcfarland,
Oh yeah.
who was a West Side.
Yes, sir.
Um, and coming into 1980, 86, 87, now you're done Sing Children Sing, which I think is one of the most underrated
Definitely.
projects
Definitely.
that the Soul Children had. Um, and that was like we talk about, for those of you all who don't know, we talk about artists in a framework of Michael Jackson. What is
Mhm.
there off the wall, which is the lead up to the Thriller, right? And
Correct.
so if Sing Children Sing is off the wall, then We Are One is the Thriller. What do you remember about recording We Are One, and now he's got the band, and that band was Anthony Harmon
Yes, sir.
and
Mark
Mark
Taylor,
Taylor,
Wendell Lowe.
Wendell Lowe.
Oof.
Did Oscar play on that?
Oscar wasn't there. That was Cameron.
The
Cameron was still with us.
Yes, Cam, shot legends.
Yes, sir.
That had to be exciting. Um,
Hmm.
what was that like? And to that end, it wasn't just Kim there. It was Courtney Duncan.
Dave Hollister.
Dave Hollister. Like it was just Chris Harris.
Yes,
It
sir.
was just like the foundation of what would be built on later on. What do you remember about that? The rehearsals leading up, the recording,
Hmm.
putting the album, shooting the iconic the photo on the album cover was a shot from a concert, but on the
Yeah.
back of it was a photo shoot.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
a lot of our brothers and sisters. What do you remember about all of that? Because I had to come from a children's choir to
Hmm.
now, you holding an album and seeing your
Hmm.
face on it and it's being played. Like what do you remember about that?
Well, first, I'm going to answer your question. I think
Hmm.
This Is the Day was our thriller, but we'll get to that in a minute, and
Okay,
I'll tell you why.
okay,
Now,
okay.
with We Are
I
One,
might
one
not
thing.
disagree with you about that. I might not
Oh,
disagree with you
that
about
might be
that.
a random matters.
Yeah, right, 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 right.
Okay, so what's lost on a lot of people is that before We Are One, we had done 3 or 4 consecutive sell out. Let me make sure my screen doesn't freeze.
Yeah.
Sell out concerts at the Civic Opera House.
Hmm.
Pause. What black children's choir does that? We
Right.
got footage. Oh, it wasn't sold out. Yeah, it was. Right. And that's
Hmm.
actually one of those is where Sing Children Sing was recorded at.
Hmm.
So that's important because we were working with orchestras. We were working with the top-notch band that you talked about. We learned stage placement. We
Sure.
were doing 12 songs, 12 to 14 songs. We did one with the Chicago's Children's Choir, so we had to be very disciplined. And you had all
Hmm.
those young guns that you talked about, Kim and Dave Hollister and others. So I think that's very important because we were being groomed for our first real recording without even knowing it. By the
Hmm.
time we got to We Are One, the rehearsals
Hmm.
and the discipline and the vocal quality, man,
Y'all were you were in the
man,
rhythm already. Yeah.
I would put. I wish Mr. Whitman could go back and re-record "Sing Children Sing," or those arrangements that he had on there. And
Or just give us the reels, give us the masters, so we could go ahead and in the studio and
man,
remix it and remaster it. Yeah.
yeah, if anyone that has that, I might you're gonna inspire me to post some of those. But by the
Mhm.
time we got to We Are One, the discipline was there, and what others don't realize is we also did 2 nights of The Wiz at the
Right.
Airy Crown Theater.
Right.
Okay, this is not old. These are 10-year-old teenagers
Mhm.
in the pit with an orchestra. Why should we know what a pit is at 10 and 11? So the
Mhm.
excellence that we were exposed to by the time we got to We Are One, now you just had to put that in a 8 song package.
Right.
Right? And by the time we got there, now the choreography is blazing. Now he knows, he'll tell you himself, he knows how to work in the studio. He knows how to work with the band. And on those songs where we call them Watch Me,
Mhm.
and you can rehearse it 95,000 times, but you better keep your eyes on him when it's
Mhm.
live because he
Mhm.
gets charged and he'll do something we didn't rehearse, but you kind of know him. One of his best statements is "Don't anticipate me." So that's a thing, like do what you've learned, but
Right.
also flow with me. And those of us that have been with him for years, we know that. So We Are
Mhm.
One was exciting to see yourself on the album with the photo shoot that you alluded to.
Mhm.
That was fun, man. That was an experience I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
And then on top of him making a group of kids professionals, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's what to moving it from just a school choir to what you say with seeing children sing. It wasn't just that we were singing songs; we were learning anthems, we were
Yeah,
learning hymns, we were learning some really complicated and sophisticated music.
yes,
And so
sir.
by the time you got to "We Are One," which "We Are One" was a hit, the 27th song to this day,
Phew.
is a hit. These songs that marry the music and the performance of it. I really think sometimes people don't understand, especially with the Soul Children, how much of a performance group we were because like you said, the rehearsals were way harder than the performances. Like the rehearsals
Yes.
were like exhausting, and especially, and I love him to this day, and I appreciate everything about him, what he gave to our lives. But he was a maniac in rehearsals. Like it
Yeah,
was
man.
like war, like war.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
like, why are you mad? It's 9 o'clock in the morning.
bruh. Man, for those that don't know, so everyone that loved our Christ Universal concerts, yeah, that's great. But what y'all don't know is we would get to Saint Sabina. We would run the show. First of
Mhm.
all, the run in was a half hour to an hour.
Right.
I'm no cap. Then we would run the show without the band. You talking
Yeah.
about a 3 hour show? walk up to that old dusty Popeyes on Racine, get our
Mhm.
lunch, and then at 1 o'clock, here come the band. All right, we're gonna run it again. Oh, you mean the highlights of the show? Just kind of to make sure that no. We
No.
gonna run the show. I'm surprised he didn't have us rehearsing robes. I think we did at one point. I gotta go back and look. We did something for Motown. I think that was just for the news. But yeah, man, them rehearsals, man. But
that
man, whew,
but the idea, and I think what he gave us was the idea of the discipline preparation,
yep.
right? That by the time we got to the stage, we knew what we were doing. We were confident
Mhm.
in what we were doing. As much as he critiqued and could tear you apart in rehearsals, his affirmation
Yeah,
that you all got this, you all have this, you all know what you're doing, and we're gonna go out here and we're going to perform. By the time we got on stage, it was like, well, this is the safest place to be because
yeah,
he
yeah.
was, we were hoping he wouldn't tear us up in front of like everybody like he would do like at a
Well,
rehearsal.
but he did though. He did a couple
A
times.
couple of times, but you think though, like, okay, well, he's not really going.
We got to be out of here by 11, or he
Right,
gonna
you
incur
know,
some costs. So we good. We can't
but
be doing stuff over.
it was an absolute wonderful experience, and I think the excellence that a lot of us have, whether lawyers, doctors,
Hmm.
preachers, bankers, writers, whatever we're doing,
Hmm.
what we come to that our disciplines with is this idea of we know how to put in the work to
Yeah.
prepare to do what we do, and that
Exactly.
gift alone is absolutely amazing. The second thing it did was it took us all over the world,
Yeah.
right? Like the exposure to different spaces, places, churches, environments, because we weren't just doing churches, we were doing some corporate things that had a
Hmm.
different tone. And so sometimes we
Indeed.
would go into an environment and we couldn't have a whole lot of hand clapping, a whole lot of, this, that, or the other.
Black
We had to
stuff.
kind of,
Black
yeah,
church stuff.
well, you're right. That kind of churchy stuff, we had to turn it down,
Right.
and we had to sing. Do you remember the time I think we did the $1 million round table?
Yes.
And I think the Harlem Boys Choir was there with us,
Yeah, they were.
and we hated them
Yeah.
because they were they were all they were very arrogant.
Yeah.
I don't
Goofies.
care. They just like, and it was like we were kids too. They were kids too. It was like, well, where your album at? Like, where we
Right.
got, like, I don't, we here too.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
think
they.
they,
I think they even tried to dance against us. If
yeah,
I got
they
to
was
get
there.
in the
They
dressing room,
did.
like, dude.
We not there. Like, so then it was like, I think they moved us. We had to move out of our space
Hmm.
for some reason because of them, right? So
Yep.
then we had an attitude. Nobody knew we had an attitude or whatever. And I
True.
think they went on before us, and we
True.
was like, okay, y'all
About to
better
kill them.
sing. Y'all,
We
you
about to kill
better,
y'all real quick.
you better sing. And they didn't. And we was like, okay. So then we get on stage. We
And when you get our crew HIS to be serious, and we gonna kill them.
right.
Now you know, because we was the biggest clowns in the choir.
We're like,
So when we took it serious, it's like, oh,
we did.
y'all
Like,
did me.
like we gonna do this, and there's gonna be a clear separation between us and
Yeah,
between you all.
yeah.
And
I
that was
want to go to their 40th anniversary. Oh wait, they're not around no more. My bad. Anyway, keep going.
so coming out of teenage years, you went to U of I,
Hmm.
and a lot of soul children went to U of I. And
Yep.
over the years, there was a migration from Chicago to
Champagne.
Urbana. Champagne. And then so you become a young adult and you start getting into relationships and dating and all the like. I'm interested in what your ideas of women are coming into your college
Man.
years?
So I'm going to omit names as much as I can.
Please do.
So we being having having the affiliation that we had as teenagers, we didn't have to look far for female friends. So I say that all of us within those confines were kind of spoiled and cocky to a certain extent. Not arrogant, thinking you're better than anyone, but to step to a young lady, that was nothing. Like you get off them stages singing. I remember girls used to sneak on our bus, and you on the way to the concert, we had enough seats, and all of a sudden, it ain't no more seats. And Daryl like, y'all, we gonna hang out with the fellas. No, you not. So by the time I got to U of I, man, you're meeting different types, and not every girl went goo goo gaga over a guy that could sing. Some of them was straight hood, from certain high schools, and you had to put in work. So I actually started to endure, I won't say heartbreak, but disappointment in dating because you ain't the only one on the yard checking out little mama over there on the yard that's looking good. It was like momentums. When you first got there, everybody was looking to see who the new young ladies were on the campus. And we were no different. But here we go again. We knew a lot of people from high school. So to your earlier point, we never walked in a room where people didn't know us. And now I'm not just talking about my SEC brothers, my Bryce brothers, Pretty Tone and Mari and all us. We took all that down. And not only did we have it at U of I, then you got portions of the crew at I State, at Western, at Northern. So we had fun, man. I like my U of I years. I actually dated a young lady for about a year, and the perils of life would break us up because it was toward my senior year. But that set me up for going into the next phase of dating. So I like the diversity of young ladies that you meet on a college, not just U of I, any college. And I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm friends with a lot of these folks on Facebook. So
So I want to bring up this point
okay,
about you say that we weren't arrogant, and I would agree with you. I think we had a unique upbringing where we were used to it. We were used to attention, right? So
bruh.
it wasn't, and we would leave the stage, go change into our suits, put on our ties, our suspenders,
Man,
come out with a duffel bag, and there could be a line of girls waiting in the hallway for our autograph. That is a very unique way to
we
grow
talk about a
up.
choir, dude.
Acquire, right? I remember being in the office one time, and the office would get fan mail, right? They would see. I remember this specifically. Somebody took a picture. It was when the choir was on Jerry Springer, and they took a picture of the TV of us performing and circled Ghost's face on it and wrote a letter. She didn't know who his name was. She just circled
Oh
him
my
and
god.
then wrote like basically to whom it may concern. Like I'm trying to find him. Very unique way. It was
Look, man. Hey, dude. And again, much respect. We're just reliving history. We had grown women coming to our proms, bro. Like, when I say grown, I mean in the context if we're 16, 17, they 21, 22.
yeah, it was a unique way to
We
grow
have
up.
pictures. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we got pictures, right? But I think though that the downside to that, while it
Mhm.
was great, the attention, is that it did leave us dwarfed in some ways in how to communicate. If you
Yeah,
always have somebody reaching out to you, and I don't really have to make an effort to reach out, you go to college where they may not know, you know, who you are, and now
exactly.
And now it's like, oh, now I got to do work. I actually have to show up. I have to be able
Yeah,
to talk. You're not going to come to me. I
yeah.
got to come talk to you.
Because they looking at the
And
frats. They looking at the frats
right, yeah,
and the guys.
those were the guys that
Yeah,
they didn't have to. They had on the Letterman's jackets or whatever. And
yeah.
if you didn't have that, like now you're on your own. You don't have a crew with you. It's like you're on your own and you got to do it yourself.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that there's a downside um, to that kind
Um,
of experience going into young adulthood?
yes and no. I think realizing that you have to put in work, to your point, is one thing, but knowing you can is another. Like,
Mhm.
once the girls will circle the pictures and send in the fan mail, you still had to meet them and have a conversation. And hey, you want to go out? Because they just going down the line. Like, well, I like the lead singer, but his friend's kind of cute too. So
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and I ain't proud of this, but the crew, no, I'm not gonna say that. Let me get back to your question. I think it stifled me personally
Mhm.
because I found myself at times being shy, and I'm
Mhm.
not shy at all, but shy in the sense of, wow, this person, I gotta shoot. I don't consider myself to have game. I have good conversation. I never had game.
Mhm.
I got great conversation. So you had to step it up. And I'm resorting to doing stuff like seeing their friend in class, like, hey, I noticed that so and so is in your dorm. What's her story? And can you tell her that I got a little interest? And sometimes that worked, and sometimes they're like, do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I think coming from the environment that we came from, it stifled us in that respect. But at the end of the day, when we had to do it and run that
We
game,
found,
we figured
yeah,
it
like
out, you know.
right. So like when you took off the robe, it was like having the S on your chest. And after you took the S off, it's like, oh well, up underneath that, maybe I am shy. Maybe I am introverted. Maybe
Yeah.
my confidence was in a group, and now that I'm on my own, perhaps I'm struggling as a young adult to really connect to somebody. The saving grace is it's like, okay, well, I may this may be new for me, but I know I can do it because I've been trained to like mind my
Yes,
my
sir. Straight
gifts
up a child, baby.
myself and show up. Right, right. So you find a way to, to connect with somebody outside of that.
Hmm.
In college probably is where we perhaps have our first young adult heartbreak. Like some
Yeah.
brown eyed 5'5"
Yeah.
big leg girl, red
Man,
bone
boy.
broke your heart. Like it
Man.
is,
Yeah.
and I think that's a lesson. I think very early on, if we don't learn how to master when relationships don't work, it will cripple us like in our adulthood when things get way more serious and way more complicated. What do
Hmm.
you remember about your first heartbreak and how you dealt with um, moving on? Um,
Well, yeah, this young lady was sought after by a lot of the cats on campus. But I guess the way I moved, she was like, "No, I see the nine over here drooling. I want to get with you." So once that was done, you're like, "Phew." But then sometimes you'd be like, man, I'm with one of the baddest ones on the campus. You know what I'm saying? And I think what I didn't like about things when it went south is the rumor mill. And you got to see this person every day on the yard, possibly in classes if they're in the same grade as you or taking the same major as you. So I think for me personally, it was kind of like right before I graduated. So I kind of said, all right, I secured a job after school, doing good. It'd be great that I'm going to kind of have my lady with me riding into this next phase of my life. And that wasn't the case. So by the time I got back home, you have to start over. But
mhm.
now you're trying to get acclimated to your new job. So the focus for starting a relationship ain't there. I'm trying to get this bread now. Like, so I think not having her kind of come into that next phase was a little disappointment or a little disappointing. But I'm gonna tell you something, that didn't last long because when you get in corporate America, bruh,
So I'm
Well
gonna add.
paid
Yeah, I
black
meant to.
man.
That was one of my questions. That was one of my questions. Is I've heard this asked to me before. What exactly does Marlon do? Like we know, like he's everywhere, and like we know like you got some people you roll with, at work or whatever, but it's kind of
Yeah,
like Tommy, like what do you exactly do for a
Eh,
living? I don't know, most people know what you went to school for and
yeah.
what your profession is.
What's funny is you might not remember this. You were actually the first crew member to come see my mom at Mercy when she was in ICU, and I used to do my conference calls in the break room. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember you coming and you saw my dad and you stuck your head in, and then you saw me in action. And I remember after that, leading a conference call, you were like, "Dude, in 35 years, I've never known what you've done." I think you told me that
I
that
know
day.
you're in the office somewhere doing something. Most of the time, if I ever saw you work, it was like at Paget's or something. Like you was you was you was
Service
bartending or
great.
something like that.
I
Right.
yeah, by profession, I am a information technology program manager.
Mm,
So that's a step up from being a project manager. So at a wealth management bank that I work for, but I've actually now kind of started a new career in data management modeling because the way of the future, as you
mhm,
might know, is cloud technology. So I'm always looking ahead to see, all right, if this doesn't work out, what can I get into for the final 20 years of my career?
mhm,
So by trade, if someone asks you, you can say, well, he's a program manager. Now, what comes with that? I don't want to bore your audience. It's coordination of projects, managing budgets, managing forecasts. I've also kind of been made overseer of our testing department that tests all the wonderful changes you guys see in the online banking applications for the respective bank that we work for. So
mhm.
that's the short answer as to what I do. I kind of got, even with that, I'm kind of Tommy, a jack of all trades in
Right,
that. That's
right,
what I
right, right. So let's dig into this.
do.
Um, you got married.
Yep.
I was married too. I get that. Um,
Let me get a stronger drink. Hold on.
yeah, go right it. Go right.
No,
I
no,
get
no, no,
it.
no, no,
No,
no. We good. We good.
do what you need to do. You fell in love after had a rich dating history. And you
Rich.
found, yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it, a
It's
rich
probably why
dating.
I'm divorced. But go ahead. Nothing's wrong.
You fell in love and you decided like this was the one, right? Do you remember what you were thinking um, about her, about life, about marriage that says I'm ready to settle down and
Man.
this is the one?
So first off, because the theme has kind of been how relationships you develop followed me through. It's that darn Pastor Chris Harris's fault that I even
Mhm.
met this chick.
Okay, well
We
listen.
all worked together, and he know. And she would walk past the bathroom, and I man, who is that? Man, Chris knew the 411 on everybody because he
Right,
was just everybody talk to the pastor, this,
right.
that, and the third. So he hooked us up. We actually didn't start dating till I got laid off from that particular job, but
Mhm.
the dating started. I want to say it commenced in about 2002. So to your question, man, if I have to go back and think about it, I think I was I think I was indirectly given an ultimatum. She didn't say, if you don't put a ring on my finger, I'm out of here. But the line of questioning started to become, where's this going? Around the 7 year dating mark, where is this going? She's not from Chicago, so she's like, I really don't like Chicago like that. I'd rather go either back home or elsewhere. And I remember I started thinking, but if I'm honest with myself, I wasn't ready to get on that knee. But I did what you're supposed to do, right?
Mhm.
I started looking for the ring, and I just remember some of the guys that had done this before me were coming with me ring sizing and things like that. And they never looked at me, but they would either take a drag of their brew or a pull of whatever and say, you sure this, you sure this is what you want? Because I think they even felt like the Marlo I know feels like you're being pushed into it.
Mhm.
So I feel if I have to go on record, I think that I felt pressure not to lose a good thing
Mhm.
to do that. But was I mature enough and ready? And did I really understand what marriage was and what it would take to sustain a marriage? Absolutely not.
Had you wanted before those conversations about what is this, where are we going? Had you ever wanted to be married,
No,
or you was just good?
I was good, bro,
Okay.
because you know, I was living a life downtown, had a dime, was doing my bartending thing. So she wasn't a real fan of the club, so I could be me, skinning and grinning at the club, this, that, and the third, being a good boy on Saturday and Sunday, which was our time, and then I come back to Chicago. She was still out where she was during the work week. I kick it with coworkers. I just know that good boy time was the weekend. I could cut it on and cut it off. So I had the best of what mom and pops and Auntie Roni, they
Mhm.
loved so it's just like, yeah. So when she kind of brought it to me, like, well, where's this going? I was like, ugh. It wasn't like, man, I really love her. I want to give it was like, ugh. Hey, Tone, teach me about the 5 C's of these rings again. What is this clarity, stuff cut? Yeah, just roll with me, G. Let's just get something. It was that type of attitude. So,
It's complicated because the reality is that some of us don't get married to the one that
whew.
that had our heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
um that one we were in love with, for some kind of reason it didn't work out, and we move on, and we can make a decision to be married, but out of obligation, or maybe it's just like, well, this is what I want in this time in my life, and I think this can make it work. What you're saying, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, she wasn't that one, but she was a good woman, right? And
Yeah.
so if this is what she wants, I don't want to lose her.
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna give her. I'm gonna give her what she wants.
Yeah. I'm guilty of being in admiration of the paper and perspective presence. So let me explain that. On paper, if you wrote down what I did for a living, what she did for a living, how many kids she had, or how many I had, it looked great on paper. Like, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Physically,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful woman to
Mm-hmm.
this day, beautiful woman. Perception, oh, as long as my mom and auntie think I'm good and I ain't dating down with a hood rat, check that box. I like that. I like the perspective. My boys is like, oh, my love, got him one. Ooh, check that box. The only box that wasn't being checked is, do you really think that she's compatible with you? And we weren't. And it took a divorce to expose that. But as long as I was good on paper with how it looked and with people's perspective, which are the two most wrong reasons to
Mm-hmm.
ever get married, I think that played a lot into it.
Were you ever happy in your marriage?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as long as the boat wasn't being rocked, we got a beautiful home. Our families got along. That's important because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
marriages, like her mama loved me. Like even
Mm-hmm.
when the divorce went down, I remember her mom said, "Can I go see your mom?" And I'm like, "You don't have to ask permission." My mom was in the nursing home at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would say the happiness came because it's gonna be deep. The happiness came
Mm-hmm.
because she let me do me, but the divorce came because she let me do me. Right? Meaning throwing parties. Hey, me and the guys going to do ABC. I ain't going to incriminate nobody else. I don't need to. And it's like, yeah, she was saying, oh, I don't care, but she cared.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're out doing that and it's sweet and you can come back, as long as I was there for hubby duties, in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, it was all good.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, bro, it wasn't. So I was happy. I was happy for the most part.
There's a I think, and I don't want to. I can't think of another word. A taming of yourself that has to happen in marriage, especially for
Man.
men, because
Mhm.
we're used to moving, going without any accountability to a woman, and then you get married, and that you find yourself being accountable. Like,
Mhm.
um, I have to let someone know where I'm going, when I'm going to be back home, and really, is this okay with you? Do you think that one of the things where she wasn't as honest in saying that I'm not okay with you, did she think that she just kind of repressed that and just kind of let you do what you wanted to do? And if she would have said that up front, maybe things would have, at least the communication would have been different along those lines.
Yeah, I think by the time she told me, it was too late because there was another situation where she'd already had a son, but wanted to go that route in our marriage, and for reasons I won't go into, I'll respect her. That didn't happen. Wasn't because me. But when that happened, it's like it triggered. I'm not laughing. It wasn't though. Twins run in my family. I
Sure.
got another
Okay.
problem. But
I
anyway,
get it. I get it.
but when that happened, now things that went under the surface or were okay now were a problem. Because there was a letdown. I think this is my perception. There was a letdown within her that, oh, I can't provide this to my husband. His mom's gonna not like me because of this. His dad's not gonna like, which maybe my mom wanted it, but she wasn't not gonna like her. My
Right.
dad, yeah, and then by when that happened, now all of a sudden, oh, you going out with your boys again? Oh, you fell asleep on the couch watching Sports Center. I do that all the time. It's not like I'm out. I'm just lean over the balcony and say, Marlo, come upstairs.
Right.
Wake me up. I'm tired. I'm taking care of my mom. I'm going to work. You know this. It wasn't a problem before said incident.
Right.
And in my humble opinion, that changed the dynamic and actually started the downfall. So I
I,
think it was there, but it was under the table, and then it bubbled up
but
slowly.
could you look over your shoulder and be like, oh well, I see that if we weren't able to conceive children, that she became a little more needy for me. Like she
That's what
wanted,
happened.
yeah, like she
Yeah,
wanted more of, I need you to be here with me, to make me feel secure in our relationship, in the marriage, in this space. And since you were on a rhythm of doing you anyway, whether that's just sleeping on the couch or
hmm
whatever, it became a problem when she reaches out for you and you're not right there.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I think that was a situation where she thought she was letting me down, um, and because of that, I won't go as far as to say she thought I was stepping out to get it something because that sounds stupid. Oh, you can't
Mhm.
give me children, so I'm a dip off on you, so maybe another one can. That with me that makes no sense. So I
Mhm.
didn't really understand where that was coming from per se. And again, by the time we got to the point where we should have been conversing about it, unfortunately, she was going through counseling. So basically, her counselor was telling her one thing, and by the time we start talking about it, her counselor actually said to her, "Oh, you've been going through this for years." Well, pause. You've been going through it for years with you, not with us.
Right.
And by
Right.
that time, it was too late. So.
I think, and I can say this for me, looking back, I can see how unemotionally intelligent I was, and perhaps
Hmm.
I could have been more emotionally intelligent, and it still would have ended up the same way. But like there were just some things that I missed or I wasn't equipped to see in ways in
Hmm.
which she might have needed me. And the other side of that is we have emotional needs, right?
For sure.
And I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to know what I needed from her until it was too late. And
Yeah.
then it's too late. My question to you is, when did you know it was over? Like there's like no more conversations to be had. We've done everything, and the only thing left for us to do is the divorce.
Saw something that wasn't copacetic, stepped to her about it. So like what's going on, and man, bruh, if direct was a was a scenario, looked me flat footed in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like this ain't what I want no more. Flat footed, stone cold, eye to eye, like the moles do eye contact, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want this no more.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taught, man, once someone is done, they're done. You know, and
She said that
you
to you.
man, straight up,
Okay.
like a G,
Mm-hmm.
but because the build up was there.
Right.
So in my mind, it's like, well, this only been going on about a couple months. Nah,
For
had
her,
already
it
hit.
had. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the crescendo had been reached.
So, what was that like for you? Because I think we process divorce
Hmm.
and that kind of level of breakup and brokenheartedness is very complicated. Once you're in marriage, is a whole different emotional space because
Hmm.
there's so many things interwoven, tied into it, and once divorce is the only thing left, how we process it is very different
Hmm.
from how women process it.
For sure.
How did you work through that and process that for yourself?
Um, Now the backdrop to this is that my mom had suffered a stroke kind of like a year before all this madness.
Mm-hmm.
So I had stress there, and we were very hands on. So to answer your question, there was anger from the standpoint of man. You see what I'm going through over here. Why would you even take it there?
Mm-hmm.
At least fake it until we see what happens with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that registered anger, confusion. But honestly, if you asked me this in 2017, you would think you're listening to a Too Short record because I'm gonna be like, why you got to say it like short? Do the whole explanation of this. 2022 relief because you only got so much energy, and if you are wasting it, and to me, the first love that I ever knew, to go back to your first question of what was your first perception or introduction to love, is laying over here dying. That's where my energy needs to be anyway.
Yeah.
And God has a weird way of saying, look, you ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna order your energy and order your steps where you should be. You'll understand it later. But for now, this ain't where it is. I need you over
Yeah.
here with that love that right? Because you're over here trying to figure out how you can get to 49. Hell, how to get to 6 years, let alone
Right.
49.
Right.
And the person that was your blueprint is over here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and relieve you. It's kind of like a relief of duties of sort. And I'm gonna
Sure.
put that over here, and then I'm gonna give you years to think about it. And now it's kind of relief for various
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
uh, because karma is real.
It is
It's
what
just
it is.
a word.
Right.
Yeah, I'll leave it at
Um,
that.
let's talk about your mom because your mom had been in my life, since I was a teenager, and
Hmm.
in our space, our moms become second moms. It
For
just
sure.
was what it was. I remember the weekend your mom got sick,
Yep.
and I remember um, going to the hospital, just to check, make sure you all were good. Did you think initially that was something? Oh, she just had about she'll come home, and she'll
Ooh.
be all right, or did you kind of realize, oh, this is just kind of serious and perhaps things are changing in ways I can't control?
So December 12th, 2015. The irony of it all, had the stroke. Well, really, she had the stroke before, but it hit when she was
Hmm.
with the Soul Children. So go
Hmm.
figure. Out in St. Charles. So went to get her, made the decision to drive her back to Mercy because she's closer to Pops and Verona and all that. In hindsight, probably not the best. We probably should have called the ambulance. But to answer your question, there was a 2 week period where she was in ICU and she was still responding and talking and blinking and all
Hmm.
that. I can vividly remember after like New Year's Eve, we were pulled into this Chinese guy named Dr. Yu's office, and he showed us these the
The scans.
yeah, the scans, and
Hmm.
you can see the before that maybe like what 12/15 looked like, and then like what January 1st was looking like. And you saw these black dots, and he gave it to us straight, no chaser. He said, "Look, these are additional clots that happen because we can't get our levels back and well, that these are not good. She'll lose. She's already lost the mobility, but she'll probably lose that. And then after that, the talking and the vegetative state set in. So
Hmm.
it was around the turn of 2016, coming into that, where we tried to give her therapy in what's the place called Kindred, and we saw. And then the lady kind of came to us like, "You're burning what's known as Medicare days. Those are insurance days." So she's like, "You're going to need these to get her into a long term. So we're going to end." They ended the therapy for us and said, you know. So I would say it was a good 2 weeks of hope. But then, but hey, we come from a praying organization,
Right.
and that walk with him, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Wiggins, you can only have about 3 people in the room. He bought the whole choir.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
video. And the nurses, the doctor was looking, look, man, about the time they got through, the nurses was in there like,
Right.
hey.
Right. 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 Right.
So, yeah,
It's interesting because that year, 2015, my dad had passed away after being in the hospital for 7 months,
hmm
and um, I remember initially it was like, well, we've been here before, and like he's like Tupac, we've been here before. He'll bounce back. It'll be what it was, and he went to kinder care too, for therapy and rehab and all the
hmm
like. And the week he passed was the week the doctor was like, well, you all can take him home in about a week or two, and we were looking for hospital furniture and care and all the like, and then kind of like that, he was gone. To which it shouldn't have been surprising because we had seen the struggle and just everything his body had went through. So we buried him in around the 1st of October, I believe he passed on September 24th. We buried him around the 1st of October, and then Miss J, got sick in that December. Um, and it was like we had moved. It was really weird because it was like, okay, I guess we're at this age or this space in life where we're caring for our parents,
Man,
and I don't know when that happened. like,
bruh, like
like,
we was just turning up. Like,
yeah, like,
when did
man,
responsibilities come?
this is crazy. Who wants to do this? This is nuts. But I think we had parents who deserve the best care from us because they gave us the best care,
For
right?
sure, all
So it's
day.
like, well, this is our duty. I couldn't imagine going through a divorce or having a
Man,
bad marriage during that. Like I don't know how I could have survived that. But I do see how it gave you a distraction, right? That I can't, let me focus on mom because I can't. Whatever you on is just what you want. So let me
yeah,
turn my attention over here. Did you find yourself maybe using caring for your mom as a way to avoid that space in your life, or how were you going in and out of what was happening with your wife and what's happening with mom, and then your dad, you got to make sure he's good, you're supporting him as best
juggling.
you can. Yeah, like it's a lot of balls in the air or whatever.
Yeah.
How was that space for you?
Well, again, once the relationship marriage thing was evident that it was over, I'm a Scorpio, man. So once you sure and you tell me
Right.
you sure,
Yeah.
it turned into protecting my paper, just
Right.
to cut straight. And here we go again. I know you'd be like, is everything tied to SEC? Our wonderful sister, attorney Asia Favors,
Mhm.
was my attorney, and she got my ear like, look, protect that paper, f her. And when
And
you
that's
look
exactly
down,
what she said too, because I know.
she started with, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense with me.
Right, right.
A lot of people keep it going. They let that heart keep it going, but your assets is touchable with every day that you think you can salvage it.
Mhm.
So I'm about my money. So now you kind of couple taking care of the one who really loves me the most with protecting my paper. It was just okay. Tell me what weekends you'll be here. I was throwing parties. I will go traveling.
Yeah. Right.
Ooh, I love your salt and pepper. Do you?
Yeah.
Love you too. You single? Hell yeah. Come on. Come
Yeah.
on
I get it. I get it. He turned into a monster. Like you just
man. Single, no kids. Good
right.
job.
Right.
Ooh.
Now, that might not be the healthiest way, and it's not healthy. It's not. It is not healthy. But I get the distraction. It is a way to distract ourselves from the pain and from reality. Like
Yeah.
I think we always run to what where comfort is,
Yes, sir.
and we'll find it from somewhere. So your mom never came back home.
Nope.
Um, and I think that was about it was a little while, and she finally passed away.
Hmm.
Um, how did you experience that for yourself after a long illness? Did you have it in the back of your mind? Did you pre-grieve on some level or another?
Man.
Did you
Well, the crazy part is, crazy and I guess sad slash ironic is she beat a lot of stuff
right?
over those. It was 2015 to 2020, 25 years. So beat a couple bouts of pneumonia. They call it aspiration when you're laying back and then you can choke on your own stuff. So Pops and I got together in South Suburban a couple times. And it was like, we gotta make the call. We had the list. You take her, your family, I take her family. We'll go see Verona because she's gonna just fall out
Yeah,
of the flow. And that
yeah.
ain't a phone call. And then like the next couple of days, she bounced back. This
Mhm.
happened like maybe
Your
four times.
life on a roller coaster
Yeah,
is
the staff from
yeah,
South Suburban knew us. And
yeah,
I credit that to the care that Pops gave. Like he in there, like
yeah.
she need to be turned. So when it happened, it was a part of the COVID wave, is what I call it. Um, so it wasn't like, oh, I'm shocked. But then again, it was like, damn, you beat a lot of
Mhm.
stuff, and for this to come, it's just like, So I still have suspicions on the ventilators and hospitals are using, but that's another episode. So yeah, as far as in terms of pre-grieving, I'll say there were a lot of false scares that did put you into the mode of, okay,
Yeah.
I knew who was going to eulogize her if we could. SEC would have sung, so
Mhm.
and had the paperwork in order. I would call my dad in that conference room so many times, like, look, boom, 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 boom. So when it did, it was like everything.
Yeah.
Me and him. You hear families
Yeah.
fighting and
Right.
nah, Marvin and Marlon. If they ain't got nothing to do with it, it ain't happening. So
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things that I experienced when my dad passed because he had been sick for so long, right? And when he finally passed, I remember going to the funeral home for like the family viewing. And I like when my grandmother passed, I didn't view her body. Like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It just I couldn't do it. So for all I know, she's walking around downtown somewhere. I've never seen her. It's just, I don't. Yeah. But
Granny?
with yeah, with my dad though, I needed to see it because I needed to know he wasn't sick anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like I'm hurting because you're gone, but I know you went through so much, you battled so much. At least with death, there's peace to your body, right?
Mm,
And I needed to know you weren't sick anymore. I needed to see that
for
for
sure.
myself. And when I did, it was like, okay, you're good, because of where your faith was, where my faith was. Like, okay, you moved on, and this body is at peace. What was that like for you in that moment?
Kudos to whoever had the case of Imelda Johnson that's Leak and Sons on 78th and Cottage. We looked in there like she was asleep.
Mhm.
And to me, that
Did that
makes
help you?
all the difference.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, heck
yeah,
yes.
got
Yes,
it.
yes, 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 yes.
Right.
looked peaceful. Dressed her up, had the SEC garb around. And I think had I gone in there, she was looking like, you know, a failed
Right.
claymation of something.
Right.
Then
Right.
I'd have been like, eh. But with some people, they say, "Oh, I prefer it to be that way because that ain't really my mama laying there. That look
Hmm.
like somebody else's."
Right.
But peaceful. And I remember the next day, I had a family group chat of all her cousins, which are mostly, well, no, it's a good mix, but all the women that were on there. I said, "Look." Because we could only have 20 people, so we had to stream it. And the guy said, "Well, do you want to show the body of clothes?" I said, "No, I don't want to hit people with that. I'll just take pictures." So I said, "Hey, I have the pictures of the body if you want to see it." And if it was 23 people on the chat, 21 said yeah, and then a couple of her cousins that
True.
were really close are like, "No."
True.
Everybody had the same like wow. I had like 95 wows in the response, like
Hmm.
wow, wow in a good way that she looked
Yeah.
great. So that helped me. That helped me a lot.
How has it changed your relationship with your dad? Like, I remember after my maybe 3 4 months after my dad passed, I called my mom one day on the phone. I was on my
Mm,
way to church. For some reason that morning I called her and she didn't answer. Like I called her 2 or 3 times. I got in the car, called Nash and Chris. Was like, "Hey, have you talked to her?"
all right.
Nobody talked to her. So like I'm anxious now, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna be late for church if I go check on her or whatever. But I was like, screw it. I on Dan Ryan doing 85 to get to her.
All day.
She's not answering the phone, and I don't know why she's not picking up the phone. And so I get there, and my heart's racing because I she's not picking up the phone. The only thing I have in my head, she'd have fell out.
Yeah.
Something's wrong or whatever. And I go in the house because I got the key. I get there, and I turn on the light in her bedroom, and she's asleep. And I was so angry at her. Like,
Wake up!
what do you
How dare you sleep?
like? I was getting ready to let her have it, and then I was like, okay, this is not her. This is me. I,
Right.
I
Right.
have anxiety now because like the post traumatic stress of losing one
Yeah.
parent,
That's
you're
all you
really
got.
heightened. Yeah, it's like I need you to answer the phone when I call. Like it's like,
Yeah.
but I can't. Like sometimes she's not gonna be able to answer the phone. So it's
Exactly.
like
You might
okay,
be
I
asleep.
have to right. I have to be okay and like work through like to be there to care for her, but to not have anxiety carry over to this that I'm transposing. How have you, and your relationship with your last parent, your only parent, since then, has it changed? Has it gotten closer? Are you
For
feeling
sure.
anxiety? Like this is my only guy, this is my only parent left. Like, what? How are you thinking through that?
Definitely. That bond of the closeness started just sitting hours upon hours at the nursing home or at the hospital telling stories and I pick his brain on how'd you get to 49?
Hmm.
I need to know. Like like just the way life is set up in my age, and I probably won't get to 49, but if I do this again,
Right.
man, I'm under the tree. Talk to me,
Right.
and in that, some stories had to come out and some things that we laugh about. It wasn't always peaches and cream. But so that's one. The bond started then, and then now it's just uh, I joke that he's my spouse because I'm single, and from a marital
He's
standpoint,
your person.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
he's your yes, he's your
beneficiary
person.
stuff is I said, don't try and off me, man, because
Right.
Marvin Johnson, then it's Verona, but
Right.
just it, experiencing this post COVID life. Both of us had some health things that we had to get in order. But see, with me now, because of the diabetes and the stroke stuff that runs on mom's side, and then some of the things on pop's side, it's round the clock surveillance for me.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, twice a year checkup, like run me for
Right.
everything, A to Z, and then some.
Right.
So definitely a stronger bond. Our perspective on enjoying life has been enriched because we basically saw, technically, we retired her, you know, while she was down, and we saw her not to even be able to get to enjoy the benefits of that.
Mhm.
So with Pops, it's like, shit, I'm living.
Right.
He
Right.
just stepped out to a set not too long ago. I'm living
Yeah.
because crazy times, and you gotta take every day like it can be your last.
Do you want to get married again?
You use the word want. Okay, had you said would you? Yes. Want as of May
You
21st, 2022.
you don't want to. It's nothing that you have to do.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And again, it's because having fun. And I'm gonna tell you something that's very interesting. I'm 47. So the people that you're meeting, women that you meet, you never, it's rare that you're going to meet someone in our age bracket. I'll go 10 years down, 10 years up, so the range of 37 to
Mhm.
57, that hasn't been through something, that hasn't
Sure.
had that divorce, that hasn't had that abusive partner, that hasn't have that. So the mix of what I meet is very interesting because I call it the side eye dating. You
Mhm.
now go out and you could dress to the nines, you could have them flowers, you could do this, that, and the third, but deep down inside, y'all still giving each other side eye. Okay, when's the crazy gonna come out? When's
Mhm.
the possessive gonna come out? When's the disappearing gonna happen? And it's sad, but it's reality. So I'm having fun learning the I won't say learning the dating process all over again, but I'm an observer, and I'm taking something from every woman I meet, not like that, not banging them, but just you can meet somebody and have coffee and just say, okay, from there I took this,
Mhm.
and then you also got those that's been called up and then they free and they
Mhm.
they know what they come for,
And
and
it
most
is what it
guys
is. Yeah,
you
it
give
is. It just is what it
them, okay,
is.
you
Right.
knock on the door, tread lightly.
Mhm.
So I'll leave that at that. So you said, do I
So you
want?
would. So you would get married again.
Yeah, I'm babbling to avoid saying I would, but yeah, I heard the question. My
Yeah.
headset worked.
Yeah. No. No. No.
Uh, low battery. Uh-oh. Nah. Want to? Nah, not as of May 21st, 2022.
Got you. Got you.
But
Um.
then again, there are a lot of happily married single people. So
A lot of happily married
think
single.
about it. It'll register.
And there's a
That's like,
lot of there's a lot of unhappily married single people too. Like that could go both ways. So
hey, I
I,
got
I
a buddy at work that he subscribes to polygamy. Like he's studying like the art of polygamy. It's the craziest thing. Like,
I get the concept. You have to have a lot of bandwidth.
man,
I'm just talking
bruh,
about, I'm not even talking about money. I'm just talking about like emotionally and psychically to do that. And
man,
that just
physically,
doesn't, I don't have it.
I
Like
need
I
5
might not
minutes,
even have it physically. I may not even want to have it physically anymore. I don't,
man. It's a
that's a
lot of
lot of
work.
energy on so many levels. And I can't, I can't. So, get it. Like
Let me tell you
that is
something. During
absolutely
the
too
height
much
of
for me.
a foursome was offered. No, that's too. No,
It's a
no,
lot of
absolutely not.
It's a lot of work. Like it's just
Somebody gonna be left out.
right. You talk about at this age, we need a nap in the afternoon just to
I
to
need
make it
five
go through the day.
minutes.
Like I can't. I
I
can't.
said we gonna split it like two, then two. No,
I
no,
can't.
no, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
No, no, no. That's if that's what you want, that's for young people. That's for a young man. Like
I don't even think they will. Man, that's a lot of
yeah.
work, brother.
Well,
All right,
I
we've totally digressed.
yeah, right. Okay. So we gonna finish up with two things.
My man.
Full circle now, you are managing the Soul Children of Chicago.
Yep.
Um, what is that like? You
Uh,
ain't in grade
uh,
school no more. You ain't 8 years old anymore.
well,
And
first of all, me and WW,
Mm-hmm.
Love him, love him, love him. That's my other brother. We're both Scorpios, so we're both always right. That's number one. You know, stubborn as the day is, and he's a
Mm-hmm.
creative visionary,
Mm-hmm.
and I just try and keep up with him, keep the paperwork right. I'm managing. That's easy. You know, we're thank God we're still in demand, so the contracts stay going out, the invoices stay going out. I'm more now protective of our legacy as we and he gets older. Do you have our name protected? Things like that,
Right.
because I don't want to see no bootleg biopic come out that you ain't in because the paperwork wasn't right. New edition name sat there for 30 years. And they damn they killed each other because Ralph and Johnny bought it. It's like, no, they did that for the betterment of the group. So
Right. Right.
yeah, but it's fun, man. I take pride in it. We've had some shysters in the past. And I ain't gonna even say no disrespect. That was meant with all the disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he's got people not just managing, but with the production of the tracks and things. He's got family doing a lot of things, and that's how it's supposed to be. The people that you train up are supposed to make sure that they have your best interest. We'll have discussions, and I don't agree, and his visionary mind says, "No, I'm going to do it." Okay, I'll try and
Mm-hmm.
talk to him on certain things, like we got to get this done, blah 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 blah. But yeah, man, that's my dog. He's an honorary member of the crew. I'm just making sure that our legacy is protected and that the business is done because people try and still get over it, which I try and limit the direct access to him.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin from high school want to bring us. Okay, well, he got to run that paper like everybody
Right.
else.
Right. 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 Right.
Sometimes that's a thing. I said getting the Walt Whitman itinerary out of his head onto paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, man.
So we have to talk about this because we've made references to the crew, um, but we need to name it, call it what it is. It's
Yeah, man.
HIS. It's
Half
half
insane.
insane. It was the name. That's the name of our group. We were teenagers. Um, Chris, Rama, and you are the founders of it.
It used to be
Um,
called Ain't No Half Steppers.
yeah. Um, what is brotherhood? What is that brotherhood specifically meant for you,
Man,
to you? There is a HIS group text that we'll never talk about publicly. We just we don't need to.
man,
But it's
please,
a crew. It's a family in and of itself.
man.
What does that meant for you?
Wow. Whew. We've brothers in the true sense, man. Yourself, Jamie, Ghost. I'm trying to name them all. Tyshawn, Brad, Russ, Rick, George, Rama L, Spider, Mike Jones, Lamont,
Lamb.
Lamb. Can't forget
Yeah.
Lamb. And y'all fools know if I forget Tyshawn. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the picture, Chris Carr.
Right. Right. Right.
Jerry down in Orlando, Brad. We have been in each other's weddings, counseled through divorces. We fought. We bailed each other out of jail. We were godsons. I'm like godfathers to each other's kids. We've done business ventures together. We've lived together. Um, when I'm with you, man. And we share a unique bond and have some experiences that people won't ever have. Just some of the road stories where people probably like they lying. Unfortunately, we have footage for a lot of this stuff, whether it be audio or video. And in rehearsal, man, we just formed because we all we didn't take life serious. We laughed. We would piss Mr. Whitman off. He said go right. We went left. It was hot one day in Kansas, 90 degrees. I'm not wearing pants under these robes. Well, if you ain't, I'm not. We didn't know the breeze was gonna start. But Jamie up there holding his robe, swinging, just stuff like that, man. It's like if it wasn't right, we weren't gonna do it. And
That's a true
yeah,
story. Kansas City. And we were
yeah,
outside. It was 100 degrees outside. We were in robes because we was, that's what Save
Choir's
people did.
dead.
Choirs did back then. So we decided, hey, let's take off our pants. So
To be comfortable, not on no
yeah, that's it.
crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
no, it was just it was hot, and
Yeah, it was
so
hot. Man.
we're singing. Jamie has to sing "Use Me," and we're all nervous. Like we are so
Because Walt at one point looks back and says, "You know what?" Because the girls would wear undergarments and stuff. So I
right.
think we had the t-shirts, and he looked. He said, "You know," he said, "Oh, it's so hot. I should let them take these robes off." No, you absolutely will not.
I
It
think
ain't gonna end
I
well.
think the plan was if that like did we have on overlays? I think
Something.
yeah, he was like take off if he tell us to take off these robes, one body got to have a seizure and like stop the whole concert. And we all need to jet. Like we had a plan. Like we
Yeah,
got to get
man.
out. That's
But the brothers, we got a bond, man. Just we were exposed to a lot of things, um, and because a lot of people that are in groups per se have those similar type of bond. But when you're in a choir, there's a revolving door. But the core of the
yeah,
SEC tenor section was us and our other brothers that were there too. But if you add up the tenure of, we held that thing down from '84. It was me, Ghost, Chris, Rama. Then y'all cats joined in like '88. So from the better part of '84 to '94, you had the core of the tenor section. Was the crew, and those bus rides. You just talk about things, man. I didn't have brothers and sisters, so y'all were. I
yeah.
need to bounce this off of you, or this is going on.
And we
So
spent so much time together outside of rehearsals, outside of
yeah,
SCC.
yep,
We had basement parties. It was like every weekend, every other weekend, quiet storm parties.
yeah,
Um, we had
yeah,
pajama party, pajama jams. Like we just spent time with each
yeah.
other. I remember Jamie. It was he had something. Jamie and I and Ghost. We all went to the same high school.
Hmm.
I can't remember. Something happened between Jamie and somebody else, and it was a little
Hmm.
gang talk. Jamie made a call
Yeah, we rolled
to.
up there. Yeah,
I mean, they came up to our school
yeah.
deep in a
Jason,
row of
shout out to
cars,
Jason.
deep, like
And Rama
what?
hops
Like
out, and there was a guy named Drew that went to school with y'all.
right,
He was friendly. He wanted to be down, but he comes running as if to say Rama, but Rama didn't know
right,
who he was. Man,
right.
that boy
Yeah, it
almost got
was.
cleaned out.
Yeah, that. I mean, we've been there for each other in each other's lives.
Yeah,
Like you said, through good, losing
yeah,
parents, divorces,
yeah. I sent a group. Yeah,
dated the same women, fought
I
over the
wasn't
same
gonna go
women.
there.
No, I mean,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
how it got complicated a few.
rotating bus seats.
A
But
couple
anyway,
of couple of times it got real complicated. We had to have some. We had to
yeah.
talk some
I,
stuff out.
when I went through when mom got sick, had alluded to the group text. So I'm in a frenzy and I'm sending this group text, and I said, well, don't nobody come up here just yet because I don't know what's up. I'm sitting there and walks Pat. I'm like, didn't I tell these not to come up there?
You
He's
weren't
like, yeah,
talking
I'm
to me.
here.
Like, yeah, you were talking to them. You weren't talking to me to tell me not to come.
They walk in, and then all the fools, yeah, we're Miss Johnson's son, we're Melvin Johnson's son. So the nurse comes to me like, well, how many kids does she have? 14 dudes in the room.
Right.
We don't look like each other at all.
Nothing. Look nothing alike. But we here, and this our mom. So this is just what
Basically.
this is.
Yeah, man. The crew.
Sometimes women, or I think culture doesn't know that we have the ability to connect as men with one another,
Yeah.
and to show up for one another and to express our love. But
Yeah.
our brotherhood keeps us stable. It keeps us sane, and it plays a really important role in
Hmm.
our lives and in our success, because ain't no sense of having success you can't share it with nobody. Like, I mean, it's a mute
Hmm.
point, and we've been able to do that with successes and failures.
Yeah, we call
And
each other out and keep everything ain't, Ghost will
absolutely,
cuss us out in a minute.
I
I think
mean,
we
I
I
mean,
think we got cussed out last week, if I'm not mistaken.
cussed us clean out, and was like, well, what is he? What is he talking about? That's a whole nother conversation. I'm like, what? Like, what is that?
Man, we
Yeah.
had a situation where Ghost went off on these girls at a little party, and I kind of like corrected him, and I heard about it. Like, you don't do that. You correct me after
Right,
that. You
right.
roll with me.
Yeah,
So
it's
we are New Edition. Like I know
yeah,
y'all teams
basically
keep up.
right.
We are. We Johnny likes to say we could be fighting and arguing, and then we'll get on that stage, and you'll never
Do what we
know.
need
Pick
to
it
you
up,
never
old man.
know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Nah, it's
Well,
cool.
thank you for hanging out with me.
This is
I'm
great,
glad.
man.
I'm glad we did this. So I have 5 questions.
Okay.
Every guest we close out with this.
All right.
Um, and so I'm gonna give you 5 questions, and you can hit it, and you'll
I
be fine.
won't dodge them. I
Yeah,
dodged a couple.
right.
Out of
Um,
respect.
yeah, I get it. I appreciate it. Number one, do you believe in love at first sight?
No.
Okay. Um, what do you believe about love?
Hmm. If taken care of, it can last. If you take care of it like you're supposed to take care of your body or take care of your car. Some people take care of their car better than they do the one they're in love with. So if you take care of it, it's something that can be energizing for you and stand the test of time.
Okay. What do you know about love now that you didn't know then?
You have to feed it and nurture it. You ever get complacent.
Mhm.
When you think it's sweet, do something to make it sweeter. It's never. I actually posted something yesterday. It says when you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you rot. You can apply that to love.
Mhm.
When it's green, you put in your all and you're growing. Don't let it
Mhm.
get ripe, and because if it ripes, it rots. So
Mhm.
keep it in the green growing phase.
Mhm. That's great. That's great.
Right there on that.
Um, next one. Um, what makes a good lover?
Oof.
Go ahead. Let you know.
Um,
We here.
uh, you have to put it down for the P, the E, and the M: physically, emotionally, mentally, and learning your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever. Never stop learning them, right? Because again, it's all about the continuous feeding of the P, the E, and the M. So I think that's what makes an ideal lover.
Okay. Last question. Where do you find joy?
My freedom, um, meeting new people, new traveling. I've become a traveler, man. Like,
Mhm.
which is crazy because that was one of the gripes of the ex. Like, you don't ever want to go nowhere, bruh. I'm them Southwest points keep accumulating.
I know,
So
right?
joy in my freedom. I mean, to every weekend, I always make a joke. It's the pressure being a bachelor. Like, what am I gonna get into? Because you can get
Mhm.
into whatever. You
Mhm.
know, you support yourself. You well employed, single, no kids. I can move. So my joy right now is in my freedom to do anything I want.
Okay. I like it. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging out. I
This is good,
appreciate it.
man.
This has been awesome. I
I didn't know if it
appreciate
was
it.
gonna turn into the lust again
Yeah.
podcast. I was like, "Well, you gonna ask me that?" And we ain't rehearsed none of this.
No, no.
With
Like we be good. We just talk. We gonna chop it up
man,
like we've been doing
and we
for
did, yes,
30
sir.
years. Yeah.
My
Tell
boo.
everybody where they can find you on social media if they wanted to connect with you and follow your insights and personality.
Yeah, well, number one, I don't accept a lot of people I don't know, but Marlon Marlowe G. I'm usually on one of Pat or Jamie's posts trolling them about something. I probably troll them about this podcast right after this,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I don't do Snapchat. I never learned Snapchat or TikTok. Again, I don't have little ones, and most old
Yeah.
folks that's on there, their little ones made
Mhm.
them get on there. So
I get it. I
find
get
me
it.
on Facebook, man. I'm out there
All right.
having fun.
Well,
This is great,
thank
bro.
you for hanging out. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you for all the viewers. Thank you all for hanging out with us. I hope you learned something. I hope you laughed. And I'll see you all on next week for
Yes,
another
sir.
episode. All right, take care.
All right, bro. Be blessed.
All right, you too.